No, it's cool.
Okay.
We're rolling.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Defiance Press booth. We're at the Texas GOP convention in San Antonio, God's country here. I'm sitting here with my favorite Texas legislator, Steve Toth. Steve, welcome to the Defiance
Thanks, Steve.
booth.
Appreciate you.
So,
the last time we got together and did one of these, it was here in San Antonio.
It was. You're exactly right. So, you're my source to go to when I want to learn everything about Texas politics. And I know Steve will tell me the straight story. So, Steve, lots of questions for you, but what's happening with the speaker's race?
So how about them Yankees?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like no one wants to talk about the speaker's race.
Oh, I do.
Well, crap, where do I begin? Can I say crap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're unfiltered here.
All right. So Dade Phelan is a cluster and a half. And he gets everything that's coming to him right now. He's 9 points behind in the polls. And he has no one to blame but himself. He created the perfect storm. This is how arrogant this guy is. He redistricted last session.
David said this one.
He redistricted his district away from him. So Phelan is really well known in Jefferson County. Like there's streets named after him. He's a Lucky Sperm Club kid. And what he did was, but Jefferson County is like 50% Democrat, 50% Republican,
Right.
which he should feel right at home there.
Right.
Well, what he did was he drew all but 20% of it away, drew in 100% of Orange County. And Orange is where Cubby's known. And it's crazy because in May, I'm on the House floor, we're angry at Phelan, and Matt Schaefer says to me, gosh, we need someone that can beat Dade Phelan, but no one can do it. And I said, yeah, there are two people that can beat him. He goes, no one can beat Dade Phelan. I said, there are two people that can beat him. Michael Berry could beat him.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I keep saying to Michael Berry, you make too much money to run for president, right? But I said, the second person that could beat him is David Covey. He goes, who's that? And I said, he's chairman. He was chairman of the Republican Party of Orange. They are the biggest homeschool family in the state of Texas. I mean, no one procreates like the Coveys. There's just like hundreds of them. And they know how to knock on doors. And that's the reason why David has done so well. And he's like the most honest, straightforward, humble guy. He's completely unpolitician-like. And that's why he's killing Dade. Because Dade is the most arrogant, self-absorbed, dishonest person there is. You would think that as a leader, when you led your team into a slaughter, which is what he did by putting that ridiculous sham of an impeachment against Ken Paxton, you would think at some point he'd go to the Republicans and say, guys, I'm sorry. I said that there was all this evidence. There wasn't. I said that there was all this damning evidence, and there wasn't. Instead,
So it was a witch hunt.
It was a complete witch hunt, Dave. And he asked these guys to walk the plank, never apologize, just double down on it. And it's sad because all it's done is divide the House. It's good, and then it's exposed a lot of these really bad Republicans. So the biggest turnover in the Texas House was in the 70s. It was the Sharpstown scandal.
Right.
Yes.
I remember that. Is that savings and loan?
Yeah.
That savings loan scandal. Right.
The second biggest one was my freshman year, 83rd session. We had 41 freshmen come in. This is going to be the third biggest one. There'll be all
That was a Tea Party wave, right?
Yeah, it was. Tea Party wave,
right.
brother. But this one, there'll be about 30. And the vast majority of them, hardcore conservatives. There are four of us that kind of stood
Did a
alone.
lot of the folks that supported the impeachment get primary?
A lot of them. And it was two things. It was a perfect storm. They voted for the impeachment and they voted against parental choice, school choice. And it was the perfect storm. And thankfully the governor got involved in those races and he actively came in and worked against those guys. So, yeah, I mean, don't ever believe that you need as much money as these office holders to knock them out. You don't. I mean, you and I found it
Right.
in our congressional race, right? We came within 3 points of beating a sitting congressman who spent $6 million. We spent $175,000. So, the truth goes a whole lot further than a lie. And truth resonates with people. Truth resonates with voters. And we've just been telling the truth about David Covey is opposed to Dade Phelan and what Dade has done and how he lied and how he worked the Democrats to kill conservative legislation.
Now he's famous for appointing Democrats to key chairmanships on committees, right?
Yeah, but it's not just that, man. In
That's
and of
bad
itself,
enough.
it's just freaking
Now they
bad.
would never do that with us, right?
Yeah, right. No, they wouldn't.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
if and one of the people that just came through our booth, the contract with Texas booth said, you shouldn't do what you're doing because if the Democrats take over, they'll have that power. He said, they've got that power.
Right.
If the Democrats came into power tomorrow, they would put their foot on our necks and they would run right over us and they'd
Right.
say, elections have consequences, right? That's just what Barack Obama said to
Right.
John McCain,
Right.
Patch McCain.
Right.
No, that was Dan Crenshaw. No, John McCain said it, right? But that's what he said, right? Elections have consequences, and that's the way the Democrats rule.
Right.
They run right over the top of us, but for some reason we think that we've got to, like, cozy up to these people, be nice to them.
Awesome. So, for our viewers and listeners, can you encapsulate the whole school voucher issue? I mean, you see these other states, and you almost look at Missouri and Oklahoma and Florida, look like they're more conservative than Texas, and they've been able to get school vouchers. What is the problem? What is the argument against it? We don't understand.
So, rural Republicans in the Texas House, the biggest employer in their House district is who? It's the school districts, right? And the thing about it is that TASB, the Texas Association of School Boards, is a Marxist organization that works underneath the National School Board Association, which is a Marxist organization, and has these state reps so scared that if you support this, you will be voted out of office. It's not that you won't. I mean, no one's been a bigger proponent of it than I have, and I won 65-35 in my primary.
So it's a self-preservation for the office holder. It has nothing to do with what's the best case for the student
Nothing.
or the parents.
Nothing.
Okay, and so, all right, well, that makes sense because I'm trying to figure out what the argument is against it. And you have some of these rural legislators who are pretty much 90% right on everything else, and I can't understand if they're conservative why they're not supporting it. And it's about self-preservation.
Here's the crazy thing too is that these rural districts, they don't have private schools, they don't have charter schools. So, like, if you got school choice,
They still have nowhere to go.
they have nowhere to go. You're
Right.
going to stay right there.
Right.
So it's not like it's going to be a threat to your local school.
Right.
But for kids in inner city, Texas is going to go the way of Maryland, the way Maryland went the way of Baltimore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Baltimore, you look at it's a crime zone,
Right.
and no one wants to let their kid go to school there. Well, if the same thing happens in Houston and Dallas, and El Paso and Austin, right?
Right.
Texas will turn blue. We've got to get these kids out of these schools where they're being indoctrinated by Marxist educators.
Yep. Yep.
It's the only way it's going to happen.
So, the border. I guess we're all thankful that Abbott finally did something. And I think the busing is great. It got attention from the other cities. But my argument is, if we can bus them to Chicago, you can bus them to the other side of the river where they came from. I don't understand why it took Abbott so long to act on this, and we're still not shutting it down. So, any thoughts on the
So,
border?
yeah, two things. Number one, it's not until you make the Democrats sanctuary states cry uncle, like they are right now, right? Chicago and New York are like, oh wow, we had 1,000 people come into our city in the last month. We're like, yeah, we had that in an hour.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And it's not until they're crying uncle that we're going to stop this. We've got to make the Democrats feel the pain of what you cannot allow this just to be felt by Democrats. You want them to feel the chaos and the pain that we're feeling. So I think it's good on what he's doing. Number one. Number two, what we have been doing, they've been cutting our razor wire.
Right.
U.S. Border Patrol is cutting our razor wire, and what we are doing now is we're actually coming right behind them, the National Guard is, and we're fixing it. So you cut the damn razor wire all
So
you want.
we're not only fighting the migrants trying to come
We're
across,
fighting
we're
the
fighting
Biden
the feds
administration.
too.
It's just freaking crazy. And this is the problem. And the big thing is that we've got to be willing to stand up to the federal government. We're not doing everything we can do. We're doing more than we were, and I'm thankful for that. So we've seen a lot of the migration move west. But it's still a problem for the United States, right? Because if those people want to end up coming through Texas, they'll just come across the Oklahoma border with where
I just saw a news report this morning where all these Chinese and Turkish nationals came in through California. Nobody's vetting them. I mean, we all know what the problems are, but I just, for the life of me, I can't understand why the state of Texas just can't shut the border down themselves. Consequences be damned.
Right.
Because
Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, we have the right to do that. We just need to do it.
Right. We just need to do it. And I think the people would be behind it. I know the people would be behind it. So,
it is, but I'll tell you right now, it's turning the border red.
yeah.
When I came in as a freshman, the border was bright blue. And it's turning red. It's funny because, 20 years ago, the Democrats said, hey,
Right.
you guys, Anglos are going to be in the minority
Right.
in a few years, and all these Hispanics are going to turn Texas blue. Hispanics are keeping Texas red right now.
Right.
They're abandoning the Democrat Party in droves.
Let me ask you this, Steve. Every legislative session we hear there's going to be income tax, state property tax modifications or rework the property taxes. But every year, to us, it looks like smoke and mirrors. Are we ever going to get a point where there's something? I know they increased the last session, increased the homestead exemption, $100,000, big deal. I look at the appraisal district, even in Montgomery County, and you look at the conflicts of interest of those that sit on the appraisal board.
Right.
Just extreme conflicts of interest because everybody that's on that board has a vested interest in growing government at the local level and at the school district level. So, what is it going to take for us to have something meaningful done or replace the property taxes?
So we operated under emergency orders because of COVID. And so the legislation that we put forward in 2019, the biggest part of your tax bills is the school district. It's 60% of your taxes. In that legislative session, we said the districts can't increase spending by more than 2.5%. So even if your house doubled if every house in the county doubled in value, it would drive the tax rate down so low because they can only spend 2.5% more. You haven't seen it though because we've been under emergency orders because of COVID. That's gone.
What
So
did the emergency offer? The emergency order?
Well, because the governor had us under this emergency declaration for COVID,
right.
it enabled them to operate outside that 2.5% cap.
Oh,
So now
was that an executive order? Did he just rescind the executive order?
He did.
Oh, you already did?
Yeah, last year. But this will be the first tax year that you're going to see your exemptions over 40 to 100, and then you're going to see the rate driven way down. But it's still not enough. If Texas just would do one thing, we don't have a revenue problem. We don't need a new tax. We don't need a new consumption tax. We don't need a state income tax. If you just held spending to an increase of population adjusted for inflation, the revenue that's currently coming in will grow by 7% above it every single year. And if
you wouldn't even need it.
You wouldn't need it. You just buy every single year. You buy it down that much more.
Right.
Within 10 years, it completely wipes away that INS tax, the M&O tax, that school district tax. The rest is all local stuff. And so the state of Texas, we can control, which is the school district tax.
Right.
The rest of it is county tax. And, we just got to absolutely say to the people who we elect there, you got to
Well,
stop
wait,
spending.
I know I can vouch. I know Steve is one of the most conservative legislators, if not the most conservative, right now in the House, the Texas legislator. So we appreciate that, Steve. Tell us, where's your district?
So it's pretty much the 2/3 of the Woodlands, the eastern 2/3 of the Woodlands, Imperial Oaks, Oak Ridge, Shenandoah, Bender's Landing. So it's pretty much South County.
And are you up for election this cycle?
Re-election in November, yeah.
Okay.
Had a hard fought primary.
You did. Did you
against
have a
Ryan.
Democratic opponent?
I did in the primary.
Right, in the primary.
Well,
Great answer.
I can't answer it
Great
anyway.
answer,
than
great
that, buddy.
answer. So you have a Democratic
I
candidate?
don't, no.
Okay, awesome, awesome.
No, but we got to get involved. I'll tell you why. It's because we got to flip the Conner Independent School District board.
Yeah, it all starts at the local level, right?
We're not, guys. We're not losing Texas from people coming in from California and New York and Oregon. 60% of those people,
They're political refugees.
they are, and they're voting hardcore Republican. Only 20% of them are hardcore Democrats. The balance are independents. We're starting to win over. We're losing Texas because our kids are becoming voting age.
Right?
Are voting Democrat because we lost control of our schools. Because we said, we don't need to be involved in school board races.
They've been indoctrinated.
They've been indoctrinated. It's the most important thing that you can be involved in. It's not state reps.
Right.
It's not Congress. It's your school board. You got to get involved in your school board.
So last question, we'll let you, because we know you're busy here, but what do you think is the most important thing to get accomplished at this convention for Republicans? What do you think is the main goals?
I think the main goal is organizing grassroots so you go back home with a unified message and you tell your state rep, you tell your state senator what is important to you. And if they refuse to listen, vote them out.
Do you have a dog in the hunt or a favorite for the chairmanship that Member Noldie have to be?
Abraham.
Abraham, that's who you support?
Yeah. And you know, who was it? What was his name? He said, a lie will make it all the way around the world while the truth is still putting its shoes on. Right? And Abraham is clearly over the target right now, which is why they're making up a lot of crap about it. You ever had a fight with your wife? An argument with your wife?
Never, not 40 years.
Right. Well, okay, you've never won an argument
That's
against
right.
Rose has never let you win an
That's
argument.
exactly
But Beth's
right.
never let me win an argument. But yeah, he had an argument with his wife, and he had a kid that called the police. Nothing was done. It was not a big deal. But they're trying to make a big deal like out of an argument.
Okay.
It's just so stupid.
So Steve, do you have a campaign website? What's your website?
Tote for Texas.
Don't forget to had that for years. Listen, we really appreciate your time. We know you're
Thanks.
busy here.
Thanks for Defiance
We're
Press.
We're
We
press
love
this,
the
and
fact
we're
that
encouraging everybody to go to
you did
Defiance
job.
Daily. We'll get this posted at Defiance Daily.
Yeah.
And my good friend, conservative, patriot, Steve Tote. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.